What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in to the Queen's Lounge podcast. Welcome to the lounge. I am your homegirl, Shay. And of course, I have another dope guest with me today. I got my sis, Chelawnta Lewis, in the building. Sis, welcome to the lounge. Thank you so much for kicking it with me today. Appreciate you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So today we have a dope topic. We're going to be talking about postpartum and also the benefits of a doula. Now, there is no other person that I can think of that has really good information, and not only that, but has gone through it personally when it comes to postpartum, and then actually having a doula to kind of walk her through the birth of her children. So today she's going to give us her testimony of pushing through postpartum and also having a doula. So without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and kick it to you, sisters. You can introduce yourself and let the people know who you are.
All right. My name is Chelawnta Lewis. I am a mother of 3, 2 by birth, 1 by blessing. And my kids are 11, 2, and I'll have a 1-year-old on Christmas. Yes.
Christmas. Yes. Oh, that's so sweet, a Christmas baby. I love that. Yes. Okay, so I have maybe just a few questions about a doula per se, but first let's get into the postpartum of it. So I know when it comes to most women, postpartum is something that they kind of hide. It's something that most women go through secretly. A lot of family members, a lot of spouses or mates that have significant others that gave birth or are giving birth or close to giving birth don't really share their moments of postpartum, and it's not until after the fact where it's either too late or the help seems so far out of reach to where there's no help to be found. So sis, I know you have a personal story about your battle with postpartum and where you are now, so give us a little backstory about your dealings with postpartum.
Okay. So real quick, I just want to clear up. So every woman who has a baby will go through a stage of postpartum. So postpartum is just the period after having the baby.
Okay.
Where it starts to differ is when it comes into the postpartum depression and or anxiety. And so for me, it went through, I went through the depression and I went through the anxiety. And so after having the baby for about the first couple weeks, really it's suggested that after the first 14 days, if you feel like your emotions are still out of whack, that, you contact somebody because it's probably the depression or the anxiety side of it. But all moms go through this baby blues part where their hormones are trying to balance. And so for me, it was something that I had a conversation with my husband about prior to having our 2-year-old. I said, listen, if I start acting weird, get me some help. If I start not being myself, give me some help. Because I had started to do the research on my own about what does that healing process look like after. And what's so crazy is a lot of women look into the healing of the body aspect. I was more worried about my mental. How does my mind heal? My body's going to do what my body is supposed to do because that's what it's called to do. So I wasn't worried about that part. But as for my mind, I was like, I need to get this figured out. So I had my daughter August of 2019 via C-section. And that after, when I got her home, I mean, like within 24 hours of being home, I was just like, oh my God, I felt bad. I didn't want to be around her, but I didn't want anybody else to have her. Just all kind of these crazy thoughts going through my mind. Am I a good mother? Am I this? Am I that? And I couldn't figure it out. So my husband, because we had a conversation already, he had reached out to one of our daughters. I call her God Nana. She told me she's too old to be a godmother. Her name is Tawanda Shepard. She is a therapist. And so he reached out to her. He said, Mama, I need you to talk to Chelawnta. I don't know what's wrong with her. She's crying. She won't get out of bed, whatever the case. And so she talked to me and she walked me through what's in your mind. What are you thinking about? And so just having those conversations, I was able to see that it was that postpartum depression actually setting in a lot sooner than 2 weeks for me. And so I had to get to an understanding of why it was so bad. So like I said, I had my daughter's C-section. I had my mind made up. I was going to the hospital. I was going to have her natural. I was going to breastfeed her. It was going to be all good. I got to the hospital with her to be induced. I was induced at 40 weeks and 2 days. She was 2 days past due. And because I was uneducated in what birth or what pregnancy should really look like, they convinced me that, she's going to be 12 pounds if you don't have her. She's 2 days past due. And blah,
wow.
You can
12
go
pounds.
Yeah. You can go 42 weeks naturally in a pregnancy and your baby can be safe. They had me convinced because I was 2 days past due. that, you know, I needed to, you know, be induced. And so I was induced. I was in labor with her for 40 hours. 37
Wow.
to 40 hours was natural, all natural, no medication. But also they weren't doing anything to help progress the labor. They like just had me laying around when I should have been up moving and things kept moving down. What about 37 weeks? 37 hours. I said, I can't do this anymore. I need some medication. So they brung a doctor in. They gave me an epidural. A few hours after that, they were like, your labor's still stalling. We can do this and we can do that. And or you can do a C-section. And so I looked up at the doctors. I said, well, let me call my apostle and my pastor. Do you mind stepping out the rooms to have a conversation with them? So my husband called apostle and pastor. I said apostle and pastor, like everybody know. Apostle and pastor, Apostle Larry B. Aiken and Pastor Olivia CQ Aiken. Those are my leaders. My husband called them and was like, hey, they're talking about doing a C-section. And like they just said, you have to do what's safe for her. Whatever's going to be safe to get her and baby out of that hospital safely, then that's what you have to do. And so they prayed with us. And I went back for the C-section. And I remember laying on the bed on my way back for the C-section and praying. I said, God, and this is the worst thing that I ever had to come to grips with. But I said, God, if one of us has to go, let it be me and not her. Leave her for her daddy. And so after I had her, I came home and I suffered with what I just thought was the postpartum depression and anxiety. And then I found out I was suffering from a form of grief from the loss of the pregnancy not going the way I wanted it to go. I was sick the entire pregnancy. Wow. The labor didn't go the way I wanted to go because I was so stressed and depressed. I couldn't breastfeed. So everything was just going wrong. And so when she was 5 months old, I found out I was pregnant with my son. I was not a happy camper. I'm like, my mind is too scrambled for this. Yeah. And so I was just like, but because of everything that I had been through, I said, okay, this time I'm getting some help prior to, to get, you know, to make sure that I'm prepared this time. So I'm gonna leave it at that, just in case you have any more questions before I go even deeper into this testimony.
Wow. So do you think that the preparation for your second child kind of helped you kind of get through the grieving, or I guess like the pre-postpartum of having the second one? Does that make sense?
Yes. So it did. It most definitely did, because what it did was, in preparation for my son, I saw how mentally ill I was. You know, the stigma that you talked about, where people don't talk about, you know, their postpartum depression and anxiety until after the fact and stuff like that, is because people are afraid to admit to the people around them, I'm mentally ill. This is a mental illness. And so depression, if I didn't have a kid, and I had depression just because, or I had anxiety just because, it would be considered a mental illness. My circumstances of why I got there doesn't stop the fact that it's a mental illness.
That's right.
And so I was able to see that mental illness for what it was, and I was able to start healing, because when I got pregnant with my son, I was still suffering. I was suffering bad. And, you know, sometimes we think it just shows up in our own personal emotions. It was showing up in the way that I carried myself. It was showing up in my home. It was showing up in the way that I ate. My poor husband, I'm glad he's still around, because the poor man, there would be weeks that I wouldn't cook.
Yeah.
I couldn't wrap my head around it. And I wouldn't notice it. I would come up for air and I would be looking at my house like, and he's trying his best. He's helping me take care of a newborn. He's working a full-time job. We're getting our 11-year-old every other weekend, and I'm pregnant. And, you know, he was doing his best, and he didn't complain or anything like that. But when I noticed it, it was because I was preparing for my son, you know, doing what I have to do ahead of time to prepare for my son. And I started, it was like the first time in 16, but when I had him, she was 16 months. So for the first time in 16 months, I started coming up for air.
Yeah.
And it was just like, this is crazy. But preparing helped me heal from the anxiety and depression I had from my first child, you know, and preparing to have him and not have to suffer with the same thing. I was fearful of having another child because of the anxiety and depression. The C-section didn't scare me. The possibility of having another C-section, that didn't scare me. The possibility of having a horrible pregnancy, that didn't scare me. But the possibility of suffering mentally all over again, that was the scariest part of the whole thing.
Wow. And one thing that I like that you mentioned, I had a young lady on last week on the podcast, and we were talking about infertility, because she's also one that has a personal story dealing with infertility. And we were mentioning how it was so important to have that support system, because when you yourself are going through it, you need someone that's going to recognize that something's wrong, something's off. You're not the same person that you are. And I try to iterate to my husband a lot that you men really don't understand to the extent of what women go through when carrying a child. It's a lot during the process, after the process, as the child is getting older, the different stages that the child goes through. There's just and that's not to take anything away from the man, but it's the woman, you know what I mean? That is the carrier, that's the nurturer. It has to go through all of that stuff. So I'm glad that now, when did you first notice that something was wrong, something was off? Because you just were not yourself.
With Kaylee, I'm going to explain to you kind of what it felt like. I had got home with Kaylee and I was trying to breastfeed her, and because I was uneducated about breastfeeding as well at that time, I just thought that milk was supposed to flow. And when she wasn't getting milk and she was screaming and she was fussy, which I found out later she had acid reflux. That was something that, so she was screaming because of that, but I thought she just wasn't eating enough. And so I remember sitting in the bed. I was sitting on a chair because I couldn't even lay down. The first few nights I slept in a rocking chair because of the C-section. So I was sitting in the chair and she was laying down, and I looked over at her, and the thought that went through my mind is, I want somebody to get her away from me.
Wow.
And I'm like, not me, not me. I love kids. I was happy to have a baby. I walked around with this thing where people were saying, oh, y'all married and enjoy each other. Y'all don't need no kids. And so I was walking around saying, oh, we just got married. But the entire time I desired to be a mom, to have a child of my own. So to have that, and the thought that's going through my mind is, I wish somebody would get her away from me. I called my husband in the room. I said, something's not right. In the room, listen, this may sound crazy to some people, but anybody who has dealt with any kind of mental illness will understand this. The room felt dark. No matter how many lights were on, I felt like I was looking through a cone of myself. So I'm behind, and it's just like everything just seemed so crowded, and my thoughts were going 1,000 miles per hour. And it was just, all of this stuff was happening all in the process. So I'm thinking, like, I wish somebody would get this baby away from me. And so I told my husband, I said, something's not right. And it's just not right. And so what was so crazy is that was 24 hours. So I talked to the therapist that the next day, my OB, my midwife, I had a midwife at the time. My midwife, she called me and she said, hey, so you're not still pregnant, right? I was like, no. And she's like, yeah, because I got back and I asked them, have any of my patients had babies? Because she was on vacation. Had any of my patients had babies? And they told me none of my patients had babies. They didn't even report to her that I had my daughter to call the midwife on duty. And so I spent a lot of time. I spent a lot of time in the hospital with them, just doing all this stuff that a midwife wouldn't do. And just real quick, the difference, as I told you, the OB midwives are trained as OBs, but they do less medical interventions. They don't take high risk patients. They just take women who are really desiring just as normal of a regular natural birth in a hospital as possible. And so that's what midwives do. And so they should have called the midwife on duty, because she wouldn't have asked, did I want an epidural? She would have made sure I was up and moving around, all of those things that OB, and this is no knock to any OBs, but they just, their scheme of how things work is like so textbook, so cookie cutter. This happens no matter what. And midwives kind of look at things a lot differently. And so they didn't tell her that I was in. So she asked me what all happened. I explained to her. I mean, I had, when I say it was a horrible time, I had a doctor ask me, so do you want a C-section or you want to keep trying, because I get off work at 5 o'clock?
Oh,
yeah, it was horrible. So when I explained to her everything, when I explained to her everything that happened, she's like, I can imagine that your mental state is not the best. Because I can imagine that you're dealing with some grief from the way that things were handled. And so that first 48 hours for me, luckily, I noticed it in that first 48 hours. A lot of women don't. Postpartum depression can last from the time your baby is born to they're 5 years old. So could you imagine a mom that makes it to a child being 3 and they're suffering, don't really know what's going on, don't know where to seek help, and then they have another baby and it starts all over. And then they have, and then we get to those situations where sadly moms are killing themselves or neglecting children and things like that, because they don't know how to notice it and they don't know where to go for help. So look, I was lucky that I'm a researcher by nature, and I would get on YouTube and go down a rabbit hole in a quick second to learn something. Okay. And so I was watching videos of moms tell their story. I had friends around me, people around me who talked about what they had dealt with. So, and I was very open with the fact that I know this is something that comes with the process of healing. And so, yeah, I mean, that being open and just being open to be ready, I think that's why I was able to catch it so soon. Like we weren't even home from the hospital, I don't think 12 hours before I was like, I don't think I'm okay. Yeah.
And I'm so glad that you were alert enough to recognize that something wasn't right. And I'm so glad that you actually had someone there that was able to also recognize it and to get you the help immediately. You know what I mean? It wasn't a, well, let's wait it out. Let's see, if it wear off, let's give it a couple of days and see if anything changes. But the fact that he immediately reacted, and got you the help that you need, and that you were receptive to it, that you knew something wasn't right, and you knew that, you needed the help. So that's awesome. That's really, really awesome. Okay. So from there to your experience with, or not a midwife, but somebody helping you with the second pregnancy. Now, how was that different from your first one?
Yeah, so I know my camera a little dark, so y'all can see how big. Let me see if I can bring this smile. Y'all see how big that smile is? It was earth shattering, the difference of between the two. So with my son, when I found out I was pregnant with my son, I said I don't want to have a C-section. I had already started looking up VBAC information like prior to even being pregnant, because I was like, if I have another baby, I cannot go through another C-section. So what a VBAC is, it's a vaginal birth after a cesarean. And so it's something that they try to say is like the unicorn of deliveries. It's not possible. It's not, it can't happen. And so I was like, well, let me go and find the things that can make it happen. And so, just things with my diet and things like that is the stuff that I found first. But then everybody who had VBAC kept saying, because my doula. So I made a status on Facebook one day and I said, hey, I just found out I'm pregnant again. I just had a baby 5 months ago. I had the baby C-section. I don't want to have another C-section. It was the worst experience for me. Does anybody, has anybody ever experienced this? And I had a young lady reach out to me. She added me on Facebook and then she inboxed me. Her name is Lydia Robinson. That was my doula. And she inboxed me and I'm trying to keep my tears in my face. God, dog. That moment of her just reading my status and stepping out to reach out to me changed my life. Like it changed my life. Like I can't even explain. You know how sometimes God allowed things to happen to your life that really pivot you, and you wouldn't think, something as, pregnancy or something will be the thing that pivots your life, but it did. And so she reached out to me and we had a consultation and I explained to her what I was going through. And this was in a time where we financially couldn't barely afford to eat. We couldn't afford another baby at that. But and then we had the doula cost. And so most insurances, some insurances will cover, they'll reimburse you for a doula. My insurance, but I had lost my job when my baby was 5 months. I lost my job the month I found I was pregnant because she was so sick. And so I'm just like, Jesus, I don't even have insurance. But she had a way set up where we could do payment plans and all that stuff. But here's the beauty in it. When we sat down and we talked to her and I was just like, I don't want to have another C-section. She didn't say to me, well, let's see what we can do. She said, it's possible. We're going to make it happen. We can do the work, whatever we need to do. And the benefit of having her as a doula, is she's a labor and delivery nurse as well. So it wasn't just bash the hospitals. It was like, let's take the perspective of what the hospital seems is regular. Let's take the perspective of what is the necessities for birth, and let's merge them together. And I'm an education person. You can't tell me to do something and not make it make sense. You can't tell me to tell a doctor, no, don't do that, but you can't make it make sense. She backed it up with statistics. She backed it up with anything that came out of that woman's mouth. She can go and put her hands on why it makes sense. It was just mind blowing. So we met with her the first time, and then a little while later we found out that she was related to our sister-in-law, or she was a friend of the family with our sister-in-law. So it all just like, it all went together. But over the time, she made sure that I was in birthing classes. She made sure that I was in breastfeeding groups, support groups. She added me to Facebook groups. My pregnancy with my son, the pregnancy with my daughter, besides me, my husband, my best friends, things like that, I went through that alone. With this, I got a support group to this day. My son, 11 months, I meet every last Saturday of every month with the same support group for breastfeeding, all of that. But she kept me in birthing classes. When it came time for me to have my son, I was so educated on birth and on what it should look like that I could have told the doctors exactly what to do. But she empowered me in that moment. And so that being prepared and their readiness, when it was time for me to have my son, I was so empowered to have my son. So they tried to, I won't call it scare tactics. They give you statistics that say why you shouldn't have a VBAC. And I was at one doctor's office, and because I had Lydia's support, at 33 weeks pregnant, which is unheard of, I switched doctors.
Wow.
I switched from my midwife, and I switched to a doctor of research named Rebecca Wayman. She's an OB that practices as a midwife. And I switched to her because I needed somebody that supported my decision. I needed a hospital that was going to be conducive to the decision I was making, not one that would say they were conducive, get me in the hospital, and then trick me.
Yeah.
Or put me in a space to where I could not have, a labor, or they would say things like, oh, your labor is stalling, and it wasn't, to get me to have a conversation, all kind of stuff like that. So I switched to Dr. Rebecca Wayman. They diagnosed me before I left my last doctor's office with gestational diabetes. So that's diabetes that you get from pregnancy. But my numbers didn't match that. So when I switched to my new doctor, she was like, yeah, they probably said that because that's a way to consider you high risk and keep you from being able to have a vaginal birth after C-section. So she was like, stop pricking yourself. That's done. I mean, she was just I took her my birthing plan that Lydia sat down with us and we put together. I think we met like 3 times on Zoom to put the birthing plan together, took it to them. They agree with everything. But when I say she went above and beyond, because it was a pandemic and I had an infant, of course we weren't meeting in person and things like that, but she was on the phone telling my husband what to do, when it's time for labor and all of that. So Christmas rolls around. Christmas Eve, the morning of Christmas Eve, I told my husband, I said, I think I'm going to have this baby tomorrow. And so I called Lydia, and Lydia was like, yeah, just prepare yourself, make sure you're eating some good food and relaxing, resting. Don't be packing no bags. Don't be cleaning no house, no nothing. You need to go in strict rest mode because you're about to go on a marathon in just a little bit if it's time for that baby to come. So be prepared. And so Christmas morning, I woke my husband up. I had been tracking my contractions all night. I said, it's time to have the baby. And we're running around like chickens with our head cut off. And I get to the hospital. They tell me, you're 1 centimeter dilated and you're 80% E-face. Now, Lydia worked nights, I think, that day. And so I didn't get to talk to Lydia. I just went to the hospital. And so when I talked to Lydia, she said, you're at the hospital? I said, yes. She said, okay, how far are you? Blah, blah. I told her, she said, leave the hospital. She said, it's not time. Go home. She said, go home. So I went home. And on Christmas Day, I promise y'all, this lady came to my mama's house. My whole family was there for Christmas like normal. My mama gave us her bedroom, and I labored at home with my doula on Christmas at my mama's house. That lady sacrificed time she could have been spending with her own family to be with me. And I don't know, that may seem small to somebody because it's like, oh, that's just
real big.
That's big. Major.
Yeah,
on that big. Day, she was no longer my doula. She became a part of my family because I could not. It wasn't just like let me sit and watch you. She walked with me. Just everything. And so she said, well, you tell me when you think you're ready to go to the hospital. So I got to a point, I was like, I can't handle it anymore. If my water would have broke, I would have had that baby in the car. That's how close it was to, the labor that we did at home. And so I got there. I think I was there I pushed all of 20 minutes and my son was here.
Wow.
There was no, the things that could happen when you have a VBAC, there can be uterine rupture. There could be, the baby can come down too fast and the umbilical cord get wrapped around neck, all this stuff. We had 0 issues. My son laid on my chest for 2 hours. He latched. I couldn't get Kaylee to latch. She tried, but I was so, that illness had my mind so gone, I couldn't even get there. He latched fine, and my healing has been phenomenal. I will not say that it hasn't been a struggle here and there. I struggle, but the anxiety portion of it, I take natural supplements for it. Why? Because I did the research on what that looks like. Lydia referred me to things. Every time I breastfeed my son, I have anxiety for the first 3 minutes. It's a condition. It's called DMER, where when you have a letdown, it causes you anxiety. It gets so bad sometimes it's to the point of rage. And so I have to sit him down and walk away and get myself together and tell myself in my mind, it's all in your head. It's all in your head. So I battle still to this day. But because I'm educated, because I took the time out to hire that doula, who didn't just stop at giving birth to the baby, but after that, she was, how are you? How are you feeling? Here's an assessment. Do this assessment. Send it back to me. And when I sent her the assessment, she said, Chelawnta, this looks like it's past baby blues. I want you to go ahead and, look into these supplements and talk to your OB about postpartum depression. She was there to help me recognize that it was still there. And so my son's 11 months. My daughter is 2 years old. And like I said earlier, you can suffer up to 5 years with the postpartum depression, anxiety. And when left untreated, I know women who have 18-year-old kids who are clinically depressed because they never got it treated.
Wow.
They never got treated. They didn't have the support system. They didn't have the husband who, who was there. My husband, from with my son, he cooked every meal and cleaned the house for 6 weeks straight. I did absolutely nothing. He said, I want you to create your milk supply with that baby. You create that bond with that baby and you heal yourself mentally. That's the only thing I want you doing. I didn't go to store. I didn't cook no food. But some women don't have that. They don't have that. They don't have the best friends. Both of my best friends, I have one on the phone talking me down and the other one coming over to give kids baths. I will never forget the day I was so depressed and I couldn't get Kaylee to go to sleep. And I think it was like at 11, 12 o'clock at night. And Alexis came over to my house. She bathed her. She played music. She rocked her to sleep. She fed her. And she did not leave my house until that baby was asleep. Yeah. She did not leave this house until she made sure that I was okay. Yeah. And so a lot of people don't have that. And that's why I encourage all mothers, when you're pregnant, find you a village, find you a support system. Of course, do your own research. But if you are a single mother, find you a grandma, a mama, a friend, a support group, or somebody that you can call and say, when I'm not feeling like myself, is it okay if I call you? Mm-hmm. Can I put you in my village? We always say it takes a village to raise a child, but I think we missed the mark. I think we thought that the village was for the child, the village is for the mother. Yeah, it's a support system for the mother. Because if mommy is okay, the babies will be fine. The baby's good. If mommy's not okay, that's when grandma has to step in and be a mama. Yeah, that's when grandpa has to step in and be a father. That's when the aunties have to, because if the mom's mental state is not okay. So I encourage women to find a village that supports you, that pushes you, that sees you. And I was lucky. I had that. A lot of women don't have that, but a doula can be that. Yeah, a doula can be that person, because doulas don't stop. There are prenatal doulas and there are postpartum doulas. So postpartum doulas specialize. There are doulas who you can hire. They call them nighttime doulas, who will come to your house from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. and take care of your baby, so you don't have to wake up out your sleep. Wow. There is support available. So I'm team doula. I'm an advocate for doulas. I don't care if you have 17 kids, you should have a doula every single time. Every single time. You know it, get a doula. Because it literally pivoted and it changed the trajectory of my family, honestly. Mm-hmm. I'm a better person because of it. I really am. That's awesome. Hey, go ahead. I never knew the importance of a doula. I always heard people talk about it, but I never knew what the benefits were. Yeah. And what the purpose of a doula was. But kind of hearing your story, breaking it down, what a doula meant to you, how significant a doula was very important. And I can tell by the way you tell your stories of the two different situations, how it impacted your life. You know what I mean? And how now you're in a much better place because of the importance of a doula. Now, was it someone that pushed you to get a doula? Was it just people kind of suggesting to get one that kind of pushed you in the direction of giving it a try? You know what? I think after I had Kaylee, I think I remember one person saying something one time. Mm-hmm. If you would have had a doula, that would have never happened. Oh, that's what I remember. I don't remember who it is. I don't remember who I was talking to. And when I went on Facebook to talk about, what I had been through in the moms group, it was to get advice from other mothers. I never thought that it would end up with me being a doula. I never thought, going into this pregnancy, I need to do this or do that. I was just looking for advice. And so the idea of a doula came up from the comments. People were like, doula this, doula. Mm-hmm. And so I just started, I told you I'm a researcher. So I started looking into doulas. And I honestly, I don't even think the first half of my pregnancy with my doula, I didn't utilize her to my full extent because I really didn't know what she was there for. Honestly. But that last part, I was like, oh, this is what you're there for. You're there for, if I'm having a side pain, I can call you and you can tell me whether I need to contact my doctor or not. You're there for, if I want to drink this tea, I can send you the ingredients and you can let me know whether it's dangerous or not. Doulas are more than just, for the delivery portion, but they help keep you safe and healthy throughout the pregnancy, having the baby and all of that. So, yeah. Man, I'm gonna have to get a doula when the time comes. When the time comes, girl, get a doula. I told you, I don't care if you got 17 kids, get a doula. Okay. Oh my God, that's a lot of kids. Yeah, too many for me. Okay. So, with your personal experience with a doula and getting past the postpartum part of it, now you're wanting to actually become one yourself. Yes. So I was talking to my doula, and I started bootleg doula, been a bootleg doula a little bit. I'd be in Facebook groups and people be like, this is going on. I'm like, girl, don't worry about that. Don't let them doctors say blah, blah, blah. And Lydia would just comment like, or she'll put a little looking eyes. I was like, there ain't about to be nobody doula. And so as time went on, I discovered that sometimes God will use your pain to help you discover your purpose.
Yes.
So he gave me the horrible pregnancy. I lost 60 pounds in my first trimester with my daughter. I was so sick. I was severely sick. I had a 2%. I'm just like, God, why you got to give me all the rare stuff? I had a 2%. We're called 2%ers, those of us who suffer from hyperemesis. And so it's a severe morning sickness. I had that with my daughter. I went through the worst of that with the pregnancy. I went through a C-section. I went through bad just doctor relationships, all of that with my first pregnancy. And then I went through the good side of everything. So God was able to show me both sides. And so I'm like, who am I to keep all this to myself when I can help the next woman? And I'm an advocate for doulas. I think that every family member should agree in each generation which family member is going to become a doula to help the whole family.
I like that idea.
Education. I think that's a legacy that people should sow into their family, to have one doula per generation to help the family. And so
that's a good idea.
Yes. And so in all of this, and God just opening my eyes to what it is I'm supposed to be doing. Because I remember one day I was praying, I was like, God, I need you to show me what I'm supposed to be doing. And he showed me my pregnancies. And I'm just like, God, I now done told you I don't want to be a doula, but my mind is made up. My heart is fixed. January of 2022, I will be taking my certification to become your next local doula. Okay.
That is so awesome.
Yes. So
it's
I will
be
doing,
it's so neat.
Yes. And so I'll be doing prenatal. I'll be doing prenatal care, but my specialty will be postpartum doula care. And my long-term goal, Kaylee's 2 years old. So by the time she's in June, he's about to be 1. So by the time Kaylee's in kindergarten, my long-term goal is become a nighttime doula. I want to take care of the baby so mom can rest. Exhaustion is one of the biggest things that leads to more. If you're tired, even as a regular person with no kids, if you're tired, it creates a bad mood. You're not your best self. So having to arrive for a husband, kids, go to work and all that, and you're exhausted, I want to be able to help lift that burden. So yes, in January 2022, I'm going to go through my certification, and I will be mentoring under the one and the only Lydia Robinson. She will be my mentor.
Awesome. I'm so excited for you.
She will be my mentor, and that's my next step. That's my journey. And the more that the days go on, I see that that's my purpose. I could be upset about the C-section. I could be upset about how I was treated by the doctors. I could be upset about having to switch doctor's offices and all of that. But I told God a long time ago, if you have to choose anybody, choose me. If you have to use anybody, use me. And so I really feel like that part of my life was for this moment, for the teenage mom who may not have the insight because her mom didn't have the insight, for the single mom who may not have the support because her mom didn't have the support, for the married mom who is too prideful to tell her friends that, yeah, everything looks good on the outside, but mentally I'm not okay.
Right.
I went through everything that I went through with those kids for this moment to be walking in this space. And so my doula services will be called Day 4 Doula Services, because it was on the 4th day of after having Kaylee, it was on the 4th day when I made up my mind that I was not going to sit in that thing, that I was going to get up and do something about it, that I was going to take the steps to heal myself. Did it take 16 months? It took 16 months. But all at the same time, I made up in my mind, and I made a conscious effort to show up for my daughter every day, to not throw in the towel every day for her, to make sure that mentally I was okay enough so that she was fed, and so that she was loved, and so that she seen mommy at her best self every day. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So would you say, well, I'm not going to say one is better than the other, because I feel like they both have their, specific duties, and they both are needful depending on the situation of the mom. But which would you say would be more beneficial, a midwife or a doula?
I would say the combination of the two. Okay. I would say you should pair your doula with everything. Your doula goes with the midwife, your doula goes with the OB. You never want to have just a doula. A doula is a certified person who can educate, who can help, who can do all that, but they are not medical professionals. They are not doctors. And so our generation is kind of getting this thing in their mind that we can do like our ancestors did and show up and just give birth with just a doula present or by ourselves. That is very unsafe. I do not recommend that anybody does that. I do not recommend that a woman and her cousin are in a house giving birth to a baby without a medical professional present, because anything can happen.
Right.
A midwife is an OB. They just practice differently. So I say, if you're pregnant, get a doula. Doesn't matter if you have an OB, a midwife, a radiologist, or asthma doctor, all of that. You want to get you a doula and pair your doula with them, but you never want to have the doula by themselves. Now, if it was up to me, and if I was referring anybody, if you are not high risk, if you do not have any prior medical conditions, if it is a safe thing, because you always want to have a conversation. If a midwife agrees, I suggest that everybody gets a midwife. Everybody gets a midwife. You having a baby, just get a midwife and get a doula. Call it a day.
Yeah.
Call it a day. Because you're going to be able to do things a lot more naturally the way our bodies were called to do. But do not let anybody convince you, or anybody that's listening, do not let anybody convince you that you can just have a doula without an OB or a midwife, because doulas are not medical professionals.
Man, I'm gonna give me one, and when it's my turn, because I feel like it's very needful. It's very, very needful, and the benefits that come with it are just unmatched. So that's amazing.
And the education portion of it, doulas empower you to say yes to what you want. They empower you just to say yes to what you want, to say no to what you don't want. And they teach you how to do it without being nasty, without being mean, without being, and to do it with your head held high. Not to go like, oh no, I don't think you should do that. But no, that's not medically necessary. I appreciate you though. Yeah, so doulas, they keep you, I'm telling you, they keep you right on together. So I suggest that everybody, 17 pregnancies in, get a doula.
Listen, sis, that is amazing. I'm so excited about the next chapter in your life, because it amazes me when people go through certain things in their journey and then they find their purpose in whatever it is that they're going through. And because out of their situation, out of their circumstances, birth their purpose, and that purpose is shared with everybody else. And I just don't even know if you know how many women you are definitely going to touch, how many lives you're going to change because of this. Because there are probably so many other women who went through it just like you did, who went through it worse than you did, who went through it and aren't here to tell the story. You know what I mean? And so it's going to be amazing that you are going to be another Black woman. To be able to, not only share your testimony, but be a walking witness of your testimony, and be able to get your certification and becoming a doula, so that you can help another mother go through this next phase or next chapter of, what they call postpartum. So that's amazing. That is really, really good.
And if I could add something really quick, because something just said, and the most important thing about doulas, I was so excited about all the benefits that I forgot this most important thing about doulas. If you look it up, no matter where you look and no matter how you look it up, it is proven that doulas significantly, when I say significantly in large numbers, they significantly decrease the infant mortality rate and the death rate of mothers. Having a doula significantly decreases. Black mothers and Black babies are surviving at astronomical rates because of doulas. Because one thing that I'm not a person to bash hospitals. I'm not a person to bash doctors. I believe everybody has their place. But one thing about Black women showing up in the birth world is that it is a belief that we're stronger than other people, that we don't experience as much pain, and we're not taken seriously. There are mothers who die because they are not taken seriously. There are mothers who die from infections, from hemorrhaging, from, saying something's not right, and they are ignored because it is a common misconception amongst medical professionals that we do not feel pain like other people, as if the chocolate in our skin makes us stronger than the next person, and that's not true. And so doulas help stand in that gap to say, listen, my mom is a mom just like Sally Sue down the street, down the hall.
Right.
And she feels just like, and so she's saying you have to take everything serious. We have to be taken seriously. And so doulas make sure that we are taken seriously. And it's very important. And I'm glad, I was just so excited to talk about the doulas that I really almost forgot this. I'm glad that you said what you said about Black mothers, because Black mothers, the way that we are going to show up and get the service that we need, you have to have a doula. It's very important that you have somebody there who can educate you. So when you come in the room and a doctor says you can't eat during your pregnancy, oh, okay. Yes, I can't eat. I'm running a mirror. They say stuff like that. And then, but would you ever put a person on a track to run a marathon without fuel? No. So you're able to say, well, that doesn't make sense. And because this is my body, this is my pregnancy, and you work for me. You work for me. I hired you. I'm paying you. You work for me. Here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna eat this fruit.
Okay.
You leave me alone. But they give you the ways to say that, because if you don't know, you just go with whatever, is
you're being told.
Is the standard. Whatever the standard is. And so doulas help you figure out what's law and what's standard. Law says that if I come in here, and I'm in labor, whether I go to this hospital or not, whether I got insurance or not, you got to deliver that baby. That's law. Standard says, if you come in here, we got to hook you up to an IV. We got to do this. We got to do that. But education says, no, this is what you're going to do. Because I'm educated in this matter, and I know this is the law, and I know this is the standard. This is what we're going to do. And so doulas help you really, really, really understand in your own right what rights you have, and they help you stand up for your rights. And so I'm not on the front of a t-shirt. I'm not on an obituary. There was no funeral plan for me, because I had a doula who educated me to say, no, you're not going to do that. No, I'm not going to do this. My son is 11 months and thriving because I had a doula that said, this is what's healthy for your baby, and this is what should happen for your baby.
Right.
And so even when I had him, they said, oh, well, he's jaundiced. And so it's because, and they tried to tell me it's because I left the umbilical cord connected until there was no blood in it. My placenta was completely detached before they cut his umbilical cord. Oh, it's because of that. So we're going to have to keep him in the hospital. No, you're not. Jaundice can be healed in this way and this way and this way. I know his numbers are supposed to be this, this, and this. So as long as his numbers hit this, my son is leaving when I leave. Yeah. And they were, well, ma'am, this is normal. I know what your normal standard are. Where are his numbers? His numbers are here. You have to take him to the hospital, to the doctor's office in a couple of days to check him again if you leave with them. I'm leaving with my son because I understand what standard is, but I know my rights. And you have no right to leave my son here who is meeting his marks where he's supposed to be. But it's because I had a doula who educated me on that. And yes, you could go find that information out on your own, but why not hire an expert?
Yeah.
Why not get an expert?
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people, we have to pause to think, what is our life worth? What is our baby worth? What is our happiness? What is our joy? Pregnancy should not be a burden. Birth should not be a burden. Having a baby naturally with no pain medicines was the most liberating thing I've ever done in my life. I tell my husband all the time, I could give birth to babies all day long. And he's just like, please don't. But I could, because I was liberated, but the education portion of it, I wasn't just in there like just going with the flow, but I knew what I was doing. I knew how to push, when to push, how to let. I mean, it was just amazing. So doulas save lives. Yeah. They save lives before you get to the doctor's room. They save lives after you have the baby. They save lives 1,000 times over. And I encourage anybody, I don't care what you think, how many kids you had, hire a doula. Just like my doula is part of my village. If I ever have another baby, guess what? I got a doula already on retainer. I don't care if I am a doula. Yeah. I said retainer. Listen, to my retainer like I'm paying her already, okay? One day, Lydia, have you on retainer.
Somebody about to have another baby soon.
It won't be me.
You got her on retainer.
Not to put her on retainer for somebody, it won't be me. But yeah, so it's my hope and prayer that after I'm certified, that I can be what Lydia was to me to the next mother, and that she can be what I was to her to the next mother, and that we create this web of women who are out here educating themselves to educate each other.
That's so awesome. That we can
share. So our babies are born on this side of heaven. Yeah. So
that's amazing. Yes. And the most important part is just the education part. Is the part that I like. You know what I mean? It's one thing for somebody to tell you, but it's another thing to get the education behind it, which I think is the most important part, because I feel like it's something that you'll carry, throughout the pregnancy or throughout, the child growing up. It's something you'll always keep in the back of your mind. And something you can pass on to somebody else.
Right.
So and that's amazing.
And with doulas, it's evidence-based. So they're not just saying, try this. They say, here are the numbers to say.
Yeah. The numbers it's being backed up.
Yeah. Yes,
I like that.
Yes.
Well, listen, sis, that's all I have for you today to talk to me about this. It was so refreshing to hear your story. I knew bits and pieces just from you, kind of posting things on social media, just kind of helping other women through, being transparent and being open about your struggle and getting through postpartum. But it was really good to actually have you in the lounge to actually open up a little bit more about your testimony. And then the fact that you already gonna be this like powerhouse doula.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be like a line of doulas that's just gonna be dope. So when it's my turn, I'm gonna have to get a doula because it sounds like I'm missing out. It's what I'm feeling like. I'm feeling like I'm missing out. You know what I mean? Is there anything else that you want to add to this particular topic?
Yeah. So lastly, I would just say outside of a doula, that I don't want anybody who's listening to this who may have a stigma of, I don't want people to think I'm crazy, or I don't want people to think it's something wrong with me. Postpartum anxiety and depression are normal. Most people go through it. Most people, and they suffer. You don't have to suffer in silence. There are things available, and it doesn't have to be a psychotropic drug that's prescribed by a therapist. It could literally be natural. I take natural supplements. I take vitamin D within itself can heal the body, can heal the mind. And so just knowing those things. And so what I want to do is once this is posted, I'll comment some resources, numbers that you can call when you need help. Do not suffer in silence. If the biggest thing out of all of this is, do not suffer in silence. Do not sit around waiting for life to happen to you, because we as a community, we as the band of mothers, and I know I can speak for all mothers that when I say this, is we want the children that around us to be raised by their mothers, and their mothers not to lose their lives early by things that can be healed. And just like with any illness, mental illness can be healed as well. And so it's not something you should suffer in silence about, even if you have to call anybody and just say, I'm not okay. If that's all your words, you don't have to understand it. And so I'll post some resources for doulas. I'll post some comment some resources for postpartum help, some therapists, things of that nature, so that as a group of moms, moms can start to build their network, so that we can get the help we need, because postpartum depression does not have to lead to clinical depression. You can be healed, you can be whole. You can be healed, you can be whole. Your thoughts can be brought into subjection, and you can push forward with your life. And so that's my last thing. That's all I'll say. You know, we're here for you, whoever it is. I don't know who it's for, who needs to hear. But reach out to Shay, reach out to me, whatever needs to be.
Yes, please do.
The help that you need, so that we don't have to read about you in a news article.
Absolutely. Okay, so before I let you go, we gotta play this little game, right?
Okay.
So the last couple interviews I did a question type of thing where it's called this or that. And I guess it's not really questions, it's more so like words. And then you choose whatever best benefits you or whatever best suits you. Okay. So let me pull it up here real quick. Okay, so where'd it go? Okay, so it's called this or that.
Okay.
I'm gonna read them off to you, and you let me know which one you prefer. Okay.
Okay.
So the first one is heels or flats.
Pre-baby, I would have said heels, but now I'm flats. Can I get
listen? Got to be able to catch up with them.
Okay.
Number 2, natural or relaxer.
I was natural, but I'm going back relaxed, so I'm gonna have to go
relaxer. So you're leaving us?
I'm out of here. Leave me, y'all can have it.
Dang.
I'm out of here.
Listen, the transition has not been easy. I'm gonna tell you that.
Okay.
Because I was doing a relaxer for a very long time, and it'll be 2 years since I transitioned from relaxer to natural. That's why it's just been braided, because I just don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with it.
I'm out of here.
Yeah,
I'm out of here.
I'm this close. Then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just get it locked up. It made the appointment, so we'll see how this goes.
I was gonna get mine locked up too, and I'm getting a relaxer. I can't do it.
You done went back on us, huh? You done went back.
I'm going back.
See? Okay, 3, weave or braids?
Braids, most definitely. Yes.
Number 4, comedy movies or romance movies?
Oh, I'm a rom-com fan. I like corny rom-com, but I'm gonna have to go with the comedy. I love corny movies that be like the boss dating the coworker just to please the family. Stuff like that, I love it. But I'm gonna have to go with the comedy because I love a good laugh.
Yes, me too. Yeah. One of them like tear like streaming down my face, like
stomach hurt, throat burning when you get to watch
for real.
Yeah. Yes.
Knee slap, all that. Yes, for sure. Okay, number 5, staycation or vacation?
Oh, I used to be team staycation, but after having 2 babies, I need a vacation. So
Okay.
I'm most definitely vacation. Get me out of here.
Period. I'm going to leave them here.
Yeah.
I'm going to be out. Okay, number
Right.
6, dresses or pants?
Dresses. I love a good dress.
Okay, number 7, lipstick or lip gloss?
Ooh, lipstick. I gotta stick by the lipstick. Gotta stick.
I know, right? And then I love the fact that during the springtime, it be all the pretty pastel, like lip colors, all the different blushes and lavenders. It'd be really, really pretty. Sephora be getting you together all the time.
Every time.
Okay, all the time. Okay, number 8, a full face or a natural B?
Oh, full face. You know me, full face. Yeah. I'm putting gold on. My eyelids gonna have glitter on them and everything. You know
that's
me.
a Gemini thing because we are really extra. No, for real, we are really
going
really
to the store with glitter on our eyelids.
Okay, and then be having glitter in the house for days. Trying to figure out where it came from. That was like a week ago. Like, why is there still glitter everywhere?
Right.
Nuh-uh. Okay, number 9, sundress or maxi dress?
I'm gonna have to go with sundress. I'm a little short. The maxi dresses get caught under the sandals. I'm in flats. Remember, I ain't wearing heels. I'm wearing flats.
You're right. You're right about that. A sundress might just fit the flats. Yes. Got you on that one. Okay, 10, pantyhose or bare legged?
You know, this about to sound like real old lady-ish to me, but baby, I need some pantyhose on. It's cold outside.
Do you?
I love them. You know, I used to wear them as a kid. I remember being like young, walking to the store to get knee highs by my grandma's house. Yeah, I wore knee highs when I was like little, and then I stopped it. But then when I started singing in a choir, we had to wear stockings, and I feel like it puts a little ladylike touch to the look.
You think so?
I think so. I love pantyhose. I can't wait to go buy me some. I'm cold. I'm starting to
get. Now you were the first person I heard that was excited about buying pantyhose.
I love pantyhose. I think it just makes your outfit look so put together. Yes, I love it.
Really?
I'm starting to get a little up in age because I wear leggings under dresses.
Yeah, you really starting to show your age. You really are. And you know what I noticed when you hit 30, you just do things differently. Yeah, like things you'd be like, yeah, that's old. You find yourself doing.
Yep. Slips, stockings.
Yeah. Because I still be wearing slits. I'd be like, you can see through this. I need to put a slip on.
Slip on, yes.
Yeah, because this ain't cute. And then I got the one that's like a dress.
Yep, that's the best.
But when I wear a whole one,
keep you right on together.
Absolutely, be looking like somebody grandma. But it's cool because I'm still cute. Period. Okay, number 11, tennis shoes or sandals?
Sandals.
Okay.
I love sandals.
And then 12, this is the last one, skirts or shorts?
Skirts.
Ooh.
Listen, I don't want to be having no more doulas, so I gotta put on skirts. My husband loves shorts. If I wear shorts, I'm gonna need 17 doulas.
17 doulas. Call her, let her know you got the retainer on. You got that in the savings.
I've been wearing shorts. We gotta get the retainer.
Okay, me and husband gonna go ahead and get it together. I need you to be on standby because in about 9 months, it's gonna be a wreck. Well, since that was it was so fun kicking it with you today. Thank you so much for opening up about such a sensitive but needful topic. You know what I mean? I definitely believe that there is going to be multiple women that's going to either listen to this, hear it, it's going to be shared, and it's going to really touch someone that is either currently going through it, in the process of going through it, you know, a mom that's expecting but may run into it, you know, as time gets closer to delivering, that this is really going to be beneficial for us. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to come kick it with me and to share your story.
Yes, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. So I'm going to let you go and I will catch you next time.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. See ya.
See ya.